Remember when the Marvel logo meant something? When that music came on and that logo popped up, you knew you were going to see something at least decent, if not great. Even the worst movies in the MCU's early years had some entertainment value to them, and looking back, a lot of those movies I thought were just alright at the time are actually pretty good compared to the more recent efforts from the studio. It's no secret Marvel's been in a steady decline in quality across the board since Endgame closed the chapter on our favorite heroes, and nowhere more so than the writing and core concepts. It's been one misstep after the other, thrusting heroes into the forefront that not many people cared about, even back when the comics were successful on their own merit, before a bunch of ideologues took over the industry and twisted it into the flaccid mess it is today.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
A few moments later.
Stores are closing at a phenomenal rate. Independent comic sales are down. Numbers that would get you canceled are now like, no, that's a hit.
Acting as an early warning sign for things to come in the cinematic version, which Marvel simply ignored and dove headfirst into anyway. With just as predictable results. Disney was handed a big win by Deadpool and Wolverine, a uniquely irreverent film that runs counter to almost everything modern Marvel represents, and a massive hit. Hats off to Ryan Reynolds for that one. So, has the House of Mouse learned anything from this? Well, maybe, if recent layoffs at Pixar are any indication, but that doesn't help Agatha All Along, which was greenlit back when wokeness was all the rage in Hollywood, and when Marvel was pulling out any old D-list character and giving them a show of their own. So, how does a show about a minor baddie, because let's be honest, Wanda was the real villain after all, from a mediocre Disney Plus show fare when said baddie is thrust front and center, replete with all the modernisms you can possibly imagine? Exactly as you'd expect.
So what? I've just been spouting nonsense and you've just been humoring me?
Now, believe it or not, I tried to go into this show with an open mind. It had been so long since I'd seen WandaVision, which I actually liked for most of its run until it completely fell apart at the end. So the disappointment had mostly faded. That's to say, I had no ill will toward this show other than a general Marvel malaise. The intro scenes were actually intriguing. The detective mystery, plenty of atmosphere, some unexplained magical shenanigans, a serious tone. Okay, maybe this is going somewhere. And then,
I'll try to be more cheerful for you next time, Herb. But right now, this unidentified woman lying dead in a crick has just got me down in the dumps.
oh, that doesn't seem like very good acting. Well, Catherine Hahn is a comedic actress, so maybe her delivery is a bit off.
Asleep in bed. Total loser.
Never mind. And it just gets hammier from there. What started as a compelling mystery, with Agatha trapped in an ensorcelled world like Wanda was, quickly descends into a ridiculous comedy duo adventure with a teen sidekick.
What?
As Agatha tries her best to avoid paying any consequences for her actions by coercing a bunch of witches into a coven to embark on a quest down the proverbial yellow brick road. Once Agatha is out of the spell that Wanda trapped her in, Catherine's over-the-top delivery is ramped up to the nines, and no time is wasted in validating our main character either.
You seem pretty lucid for a change. Aggressive even. Powerful.
Which also seems to be a requirement for Marvel shows.
Your mom's lucky. When they were handing out kids, they gave her the toughest ones.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Agatha's power has been stripped by Wanda, and so her immediate motivation is to become powerful again, I guess. But extra urgency is soon added because an old witch rival shows up to kill Agatha for some reason. We're treated to a fight between her and Rio, played by Aubrey Plaza, and just like in The Acolyte, we see a couple women who have powers, well, one of them does, fight it out in melee combat without using said powers. Because of course you would do that if you're a strong, brave, independent witch with magical abilities. It would make total sense to resort to your fists, wouldn't it? Don't you remember all the times Doctor Strange beat someone down rather than rely on his spells? I mean, you remember, right? So the middle-aged fistfight goes on until... It's about time. I knew she had it in her. I'm not sure what all that other stuff was for. Rio wants to kill Agatha, but she isn't allowed to for some reason, so she'll just torture her instead, until Agatha convinces Rio that it would be much more satisfying to do so when she has her powers back. And Rio agrees.
What?
I can't stand writing like this. Rio wants nothing more than to kill Agatha, but is persuaded to hold off because it'll be more satisfying if Agatha has her power to fight back or something. And Rio says she'll tell the others who want Agatha dead where to find her, even though Rio is the one who wants to kill her. Or not? If you're gonna write an enemy in who has your protagonist on the ropes, but doesn't kill them when they have the chance, it's just as ridiculous and unbelievable as all those Bond villains who gave him convenient outs.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
But where James Bond is charming enough and the movies are entertaining enough for people to accept that kind of thing and go along for the ride, your show and character are not. Don't write it that way. It's frustrating and nonsensical. Not to mention that it's being played seriously here when the rest of the show comes across as a complete joke. It's tonally and logically inconsistent, even for a Marvel comedy like this. In episode 2, Agatha's quirkiness is dialed up to 11.
And this is not a car. Okay, that's all right.
As she runs around town trying to build a coven so she can get onto the Witch's Road, which supposedly gives you what you're missing, all while her teen sidekick fanboys about her.
I know an egregious amount about you. I've been obsessed since I first read up on your Salem days.
As they persuade different down-on-their-luck witches to join up. Agatha manages to convince 3 local witches to join her group for a jaunt down the Witch's Road, which is scheduled for 5 o'clock that night, because the Salem 7, those aforementioned witches who also want to kill Agatha, are showing up that evening. Everything is jokey, hammy, and trivial. Though I will say, I like how Agatha grabbed the gardener lady off the street as a stand-in for the Earth Witch. That was actually pretty funny. We know very little about these women before they sing a witchy song for a solid 3 minutes, and escape down a door in the floorboards before the Salem 7 can do something nasty to Agatha. Seems a bit easy. Anyway, our heroines set off down the Witch's Road and... Man, this isn't a superhero show at all, is it? I don't know who the target market for this is, but it's a fair bet to say it isn't your typical comic fan, or your average superhero fan who is attracted to the genre by the Marvel movies, or even latecomers to the Marvel brand. There's nothing superheroic going on here, not even remotely. It's a show about a selfish witch on a quest to get her magic back while avoiding retribution for her past wrongs. There's no powerful or empathetic character for the audience to relate to or look up to. Half the time it feels like a Hocus Pocus knockoff, or a cheap sitcom about a quirky aunt and her young nephew. It's not even for a younger audience, despite the juvenile performances, with a 14+ rating and Catherine Hahn's ass on the screen. Not something I ever thought I'd see in a Marvel show, but I have now. You're really narrowing your target audience here, Marvel. I mean, the only people I can figure out who like this are the same ones who liked She-Hulk, and we know how well that show performed. If you want to see a show about witches with a whimsical tone, you might as well watch Charmed. I'm not sure why this was made under the Marvel brand, except for the recognition, I guess. For my money, I'd rather watch The Craft. That's a proper movie about witches. I don't care how mid the ratings are. That one got it right.
You girls watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.
As for this show, right now, it feels like a giant waste of time.
Agnes, you feeling okay
Stop
today?
talking!